Have you ever paused, looked around at your life, and thought, whose story is this anyway, and why do I feel like the extra with no real lines? It's strange how quickly the ground can give way beneath you. One minute everything seems stable, maybe even comfortably routine, and the next, you're in freefall. No footing, no direction, just falling. I'm 32 now, and somehow I've ended up back in the room where I spent my teenage years. The posters on the wall are peeling at the corners, and the desk is still a mess of dusty trophies and scribbled notebooks from high school. Walking in feels like stepping into a time capsule, only it's not nostalgic, just painfully accurate. These relics haven't changed. I have. A dry, humorless laugh escapes me. This version of my life? This footnote? This isn't the story I imagined I'd be living. My name is Cali, and despite all the dreams I once wore like armor, here I am, at rock bottom, alone, trying to retrace every step, every decision that might explain how I got here. It all started with Noah. We first crossed paths at a housewarming party hosted by my friend Jasmine. She just moved into a stunning townhouse, sunlight streaming through elegant French windows, perfectly chosen furniture that looked like it came straight from a high-end design magazine. Her life was brimming with purpose and beauty. Her career was soaring. Her fiancé adored her. You could see it in every glance he gave her. It all seemed to fit so perfectly, like someone had sketched out her future in detail and life had followed the plan precisely. Mine, on the other hand, a cycle of dating apps, stilted conversations, and forgettable drinks. Nothing lasting, nothing deep. I had started to believe that real, soul-level love just wasn't written into my story. Maybe I missed it somewhere back in an earlier chapter. Maybe it had never been mine to begin with. And then I noticed him. Noah wasn't trying to be the center of attention. He stood slightly apart from the crowd, calm and grounded. Dark hair, eyes that seemed to hold stories, and a quiet intensity that made you want to lean in. But what really caught me wasn't his appearance, it was his presence. When you spoke, he listened like your words mattered. Like he was collecting them, one by one, with care. That night, we talked. Not surface-level chatter, but deep conversation tucked away in a quiet corner of the room, the hum of the party fading into the background. Hours disappeared. And something inside me, something long dormant, flickered back to life. Maybe love hadn't passed me by after all. Noah felt like the very thing I'd been hoping for. Steady. Present. With him, the noise of the world seemed to dim, and for the first time in ages, I could breathe. A year later, he proposed. Just the two of us on the balcony, city lights twinkling beneath us, and a ring that caught the stars' reflections. I said yes immediately. No hesitation. That spring, we exchanged vows beneath an open sky, surrounded by soft blues, fresh blossoms, and quiet promises. For a time, it felt like everything I'd dreamed of. But slowly, and I do mean slowly, it began to shift. So subtly at first I almost didn't notice. Or maybe I did and chose not to see. The steadiness that once felt like home started to seem motionless. His sweet habits, bringing my favorite tea, slipping loving notes into my lunch, felt more like rituals than surprises. I began to wonder, had I chosen safety over spark? Comfort over connection? At first, the doubt was faint, a quiet whisper. But it grew louder. I heard it in our silences, in the way I'd scroll through my phone during dinner, in the envy I felt when I watched other couples light up around each other. Then came the dinner party. Over a second glass of wine, someone casually asked, "How do you know you've married the right person?" And before I could stop myself, I laughed and said, "Honestly, if I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't have married Noah." The room went silent. I turned to him, hoping he'd catch the joke, offer a smile, anything. But there was only stillness, tight, humming, dangerous. He held his wine glass like it was the only thing keeping him steady. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, but it cut deep. "Good to know." I tried to play it off as a bad joke, horribly timed. But it was too late. The damage was done. That night, he didn't yell. He didn't argue. He just withdrew. Went to bed without saying another word. I told myself we'd sort it out in the morning. We always did. We were good at patching things up. At least, I believed we were. But when I woke, his side of the bed was cold. Half his closet was empty. His toothbrush was gone. And sitting on the nightstand, as final as a period at the end of a sentence, was his wedding ring, right next to a honeymoon photo of us, still smiling in its silver frame. No calls. No texts. Just silence. Days passed. Then weeks. Reality crept in slowly, like dust settling in an untouched room. He wasn't coming back. The hardest part wasn't losing him. It was how easily he seemed to let go. While I was drowning in shame, questioning every moment, I saw him again, weeks later, in a downtown cafe. He wasn't alone. The woman across from him looked like someone who belonged in a life I no longer had access to. Confident, elegant, completely sure of herself. She didn't have to question whether she fit. And the way he looked at her, that quiet warmth in his eyes, it was how he once looked at me. I wanted to walk in, to remind him who I was, to ask him to rewind everything, to fight for what we had. But I didn't, because I finally understood. Noah had loved me with his whole heart, and I had loved the idea of him, until I didn't anymore. Regret doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the hush after the world has moved on. It doesn't shout about what was taken. It gently reminds you of what you gave away. He didn't leave because he stopped loving me. He left because he realized I never truly saw how deeply he did. So here I am, back in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by ghosts of the person I used to be, trying to understand how I let it all slip through my fingers. People say you don't know what you have until it's gone. But that's not always true. Sometimes, you know exactly what you had. You just realize it far too late.